Hey, what's up, everybody? Just wanted to give you a quick tutorial on how to chop vocals in order to match a different tempo using Koala Sampler. Now, quick disclaimer, I am not an old school OG beat maker. I'm fairly new to this, and so this method that I'm using is something I came up with on my own, and it may not be the best method, but it's worked pretty well for me. So I wanted to share that with you. However, if there's better methods that you want to share with me, I'd love to hear about it. Please send me a message or leave me a comment. There's a couple different ways that I do this. One is if you have the original track and the vocals and the instrumental are all together. It's super simple to do in Koala when that's the case, using its stem splitting feature. However, there are a lot of times when I'll grab acapellas online, or I will use an online stem splitter to get a higher quality vocal separation. And when I do that, I need to combine that acapella back with the instrumental or with the original track in order to help me chop it easier. So I'll show you that method second. So first of all, when you've got the original track, so you can hear that all the vocals and the instrumental are still intact, and this is where I would be starting. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm listening to the track, and I'm going to be listening for where the first beat of my loop is going to start. And there it was. So I zoom in on that, and the further I zoom in, the easier it becomes to see where that exact transition is happening. And now I'm going to listen for the end of my loop. So in this case, I'm just going to do a quick 2-bar loop, and I'll listen for the one of the third bar, and that's where I'm going to put my end point, is right before that next one. Okay, so you're going to hear me counting as I do this. I'm looking for the first beat of the third bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1. So I saw that it hits right here. And again, I'm going to zoom in and try to get close to where that transient peaks. And now I should have a perfect 2-bar loop. So let's check that out. Get done with a big 2-0 sickness from Raymond with hit list that won't stand for get done with a big 2-0 sickness. Perfect. So there we go. We've got our 2-bar loop. And now the only thing I would need to do is use the stem splitting to pull the vocal out of that. I go to my tools and do the split stems. Now there's a couple things. I'm doing this intentionally to show you something here. But when you split this, two things you'll notice. First, it's been cropped. And second, the volume is greatly reduced. The reason for that is because I've actually got the volume turned down here. And so it's baking that volume change in to the final split stem that it pulls out. It's kind of like if I bounced it, it's going to take any settings that I have here in volume, pitch, and pan and bake that into the sample. So in order to eliminate that issue, I need to maximize the volume again. Make sure I don't have anything else done that I don't want to happen. Also, I want to make sure that those start and end points are exactly where I want them before I split the stems, because the split stem is going to be permanently cropped. So let's say I've done that and I've got everything the way I want it. I'm going to go ahead and split that stem out. Again, I'm only selecting the vocals. And you can see I have a much better looking waveform this time. Sorry about that. So here we go. Get done with a big 2-0 sickness from Raymond with hit list that won't stand for. So this will work for a lot of purposes, lo-fi beat or something that isn't going to be a final release. But I can hear that there's still some drums bleeding into that stem. And also the vocals are a little bit distorted. So this is an example of why I would use this second method, because I'm not really getting a nice, clean acapella that I would like to have. You can go online and find some additional resources for splitting stems, and there's several of them out there. And the other thing is you might find an actual acapella that's already been split by somebody professionally, and people share those online from time to time. So in any case, I've got an acapella and I need to chop that up, but it's actually pretty hard to chop an acapella and find the one.
Seattle, get done with a big 2-0 sickness from Raymond, the hit list that won't stand for. Bring the.
So the next one is actually kind of in the middle of that. Really hard to find the exact point where that belongs. So that demonstrates why I need to use this method that I'm using. So I'm going to put that starting point all the way back to the beginning. So I've got my full original sample here. And same thing with the instrumental. These were both split from the same original, so they're identical length and they start from an identical point. So I know that I don't have to do much work to line these up. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to combine these by taking and panning one all the way to one side and panning the instrumental all the way to the other side. However, if I do that to the acapella and I pan that all the way to the left, I'm going to be throwing out information from the right channel that I might want. So for example, there could be a backup singer or somebody doing a doubling of their line. And they maybe in the original recording slightly panned that element to one side or the other. And so by me just straight up panning this, I'm going to lose that material that's on the right channel. So what I want to do instead is use my tools to convert that to mono. And I want to keep my left and right channels in the mono audio. So now I don't have to worry about panning that. Now it's got the same information in both the right and the left. So it doesn't matter which side I pan this to now. But I'm going to pan it all the way left. And then with the instrumental, I don't need to convert it to mono first because I'm throwing that out at the end anyway. I don't really care if I'm losing some information in the process. So I'm just going to pan that straight right, pan this one all the way left, and then I'm going to combine the two. So now again, I made this mistake on purpose so I could demonstrate it to you. You see that I got a lot of reduced audio level here. So if you want to eliminate that, again, I've got it panned. I want to max the volume on that, and then mix them. Now I've got a much nicer looking waveform here to work with. And what's cool about this is now I can pan it all the way left and hear only the vocal. Or I can pan it all the way right and hear just the instrumental.
We rearrange the game and the rain drops by buckets.
So that's the purpose of combining those two and having one in one channel and one is the other, is that now I can take this file and use it to line up my loops on the one. Just the way I did in the first method. There's no difference at this point.
206, yo. Northwest hip hop. Fix your face. Come on. Seattle.
Okay, so the beat was coming in right in there. I think the bass drum is right there. Yeah, I actually think the bass drum starts on that transient change right there. And I know that I'm hearing the bass drum coming in on the one, so I'm using that for my alignment. All right, so now let's do the same thing we did before, and we'll listen for the first beat of the bar after my loop. So I want a 2-bar loop, so I'm listening to the first beat of the third bar. 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1. So I can see it right here on that drum beat. And like I said before, if I only had the vocal, I would have to find where in this part of the transient to split it. But because I've got the instrumental mixed in, I can see it right where that drum beat comes in. So now, again, I should, oh crap. I just screwed up my start point. Okay, now I should have a perfect loop here.
Get done with a big 2-0 sickness from Raymond with hit list that won't stand for shadow.
So that's all there is to it. I've got a perfect loop here, and in order to get my vocal back out of that without having the vocal only appear in the left channel, I simply need to take this file again, convert it to mono, and this time I'm using only the left channel. No, I made that same mistake again. Forgot to maximize the volume before I converted to mono. So let's do that one more time. Left channel. And now I've got a nice, clean acapella, perfectly sized to a 2-bar loop.
Get done with a big 2-0 sickness from Raymond with hit list that won't stand for shadow.
All right. So I can crop that. And I like to crop these once I'm confident that I have them the way I want, so that I don't make the mistake of accidentally nudging these when I'm zooming in and out. It's really easy to accidentally move that end point or start point. So once you've cropped it, it's easy to put those back where they belong if you accidentally nudge them. So now I would just take this and go back to the one that hasn't been converted back to mono. And I'm gonna, in the more recent update of Koala, we can now grab this selection and move it. So I know that I'm trying to align it right here with that transient. So I'm gonna grab this and move it right to where that other one ended. And I should have pretty close to another 2-bar perfect loop.
Bring the ruckus and the pain to these. We rearrange the game and the rain drops by buckets.
All right, there it is. So take that, again, maximize the volume, convert to mono.
Bring the ruckus.
All right. So now, the only thing I have left to do is crop that. And let's go ahead and throw that into a sequence with a drum loop. So I'm looking for chop 4 and 5 here. So this one is 2 bars, and then I've got another 2-bar. And then we're going to put our drum loop here and let that loop for 4 bars. And if I've done everything correctly, we should have a nice matching of the acapella to the drum beat. Oh, I know the part I missed. So now that I've got these as perfect loops, I actually need to turn the stretch on so that it matches it to the sequence tempo. Okay, so those are stretched and my drum beat is stretched. And we're going to go ahead and try that sequence now.
Get done with a big 2-0 sickness from Raymond with hit list that won't stand for. Bring the ruckus and the pain to these. We rearrange the game and the rain drops by buckets.
There we go. That's all there is to it. Obviously, I'm going to be using longer chops for full verses, or at least half of the verse. Really depends on how you want to do it. You could certainly do it with these 2-bar chops if you want. But that's how I get my acapellas perfectly chopped with the beat, is by panning it to the left, putting the instrumental on the right, combining them, make my chops, and then pull that acapella back out by converting it back to mono using only the side or the channel that has the acapella. So that's really all there is to it. Hopefully this method will help somebody out who has been wondering how to do this and how to match a vocal to a different tempo. This is the easiest way that I've found to do it so far. But again, there may be other methods out there, so please feel free to share that in the comments. All right, good luck and have fun making music.